You are about to witness one of the most jaw-dropping displays of courtroom disrespect ever recorded on camera. When a 29-year-old social media influencer entered Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom glued to her phone, she made a fatal miscalculation by believing Instagram mattered more than the law. What followed didn't just lead to her immediate arrest. It completely obliterated her influencer career and became a viral lesson proving that pulling out a phone in front of a judge is the fastest route to handcuffs. This incident perfectly captures the violent collision between social media obsession and zero-tolerance judicial authority, freezing the exact second an influencer realizes that likes, comments, and followers mean absolutely nothing once a judge orders you into custody. We're about to break down this unforgettable moment of instant karma. But first, fewer than 1% of you watching are actually subscribed. So hit that subscribe button now, because this story of the fastest contempt arrest in Judge Caprio's courtroom deserves to reach anyone who needs reminding that a courtroom is not a content studio. Let's see what happens when a photo op turns into a jail sentence. It's a deceptively quiet Tuesday morning in late April at Providence Municipal Court, the kind of day packed with routine speeding tickets and forgettable parking violations. Outside, spring air carries warmth and renewal, but inside these walls, the atmosphere is about to plunge to a chilling zero. At exactly 9:15 a.m., the heavy wooden doors swing open and in walks Jessica Miller, a 29-year-old aspiring influencer whose sense of importance seems entirely tied to her 3,400 Instagram followers and a carefully curated online image. As she enters, her phone is already raised in front of her face, either recording a vlog or obsessively monitoring notifications. She appears blissfully unaware of the seriousness of the space she has just stepped into. Her outfit screams content creator, not defendant, high-end designer athleisure that likely costs more than most people's monthly rent, paired with spotless premium sneakers and oversized sunglasses perched on her head like a celebrity avoiding paparazzi. Completing the picture of casual disrespect, she clutches a large iced coffee from a trendy cafe while white AirPods sit clearly in her ears, sealing her off from the sounds of the courtroom. What truly shocks everyone, though, and instantly draws the attention of officers and clerks alike, is that Jess never once looks up from her screen. Not when she crosses the threshold. Not when she strolls down the center aisle. Not even when she takes a seat in the gallery where defendants normally sit in silent anxiety. She remains locked inside her digital bubble, scrolling, typing, smirking at comments, completely disconnected from the reality that she is in a court of law to answer for a simple parking citation. It's a routine violation, parking in a residential permit-only zone, carrying a $75 fine plus court costs. A 5-minute inconvenience at most. But her behavior is about to turn this forgettable ticket into one of the most viral courtroom implosions the internet has ever seen. As other defendants are called, pay their fines, and exit, Jess stays standing in the waiting area, phone still glued to her hand, thumbs moving endlessly, fully disengaged from the proceedings unfolding just feet away. Court officers exchange looks, assuming she'll put the phone away once her name is called. They've seen distracted defendants before, but never this level of total detachment. When the clerk finally calls out Jessica Miller from the docket, there's no response. She's still typing, forcing the clerk to repeat the name louder. Jess finally looks up, visibly annoyed, notices the attention, and starts walking toward the defendant's stand. Shockingly, she still doesn't put the phone down. She approaches the bench while staring at her screen, still typing, treating the courtroom aisle like a city sidewalk. She reaches Judge Frank Caprio's bench with her phone held at eye level, scrolling through TikTok or Instagram, making no eye contact and offering no acknowledgement of the judge whatsoever. Caprio looks up from his paperwork, and his expression changes instantly. In 38 years on the bench, he's seen nervous defendants, angry defendants, even rude ones, but never someone approaching the bench actively using a phone as if ordering coffee. The room goes silent as his voice cuts through with unmistakable authority. Ms. Miller, put your phone away immediately. In a move that defies every survival instinct a person should have in court, Jess doesn't apologize or pocket the device. Instead, without lifting her eyes from the glowing screen, she raises a single manicured finger in a dismissive 1-second gesture, her thumb still flying across the glass. The courtroom shifts instantly from low background noise to suffocating silence, broken only by the collective gasp as everyone realizes she just shushed a sitting judge. Judge Caprio, known for patience but unwavering decorum, feels the disrespect ripple through the room. His voice drops, deeper and firmer. Ms. Miller, put the phone away now. This is a courtroom, not a coffee shop. You'd expect that tone to snap anyone back to reality. Instead, Jess glances up briefly, offers a distracted grimace, and keeps the phone at her waist. Yeah, sorry, Your Honor, she mutters with irritated casualness. I'm just finishing something real quick. Just give me like 1 second. She immediately looks back down and keeps typing, treating the judge like a server interrupting her order. The disbelief in the room is overwhelming. Clerks freeze mid-motion. Defendants stare wide-eyed. Everyone waits for the hammer to fall. Judge Caprio's expression hardens into controlled judicial fury as he delivers a crystal-clear ultimatum. Ms. Miller, this is your final warning. Put the phone away immediately or you will be held in contempt of court. It's the last off-ramp, her final chance to stop. But Jess, still typing and refusing eye contact, responds with words that instantly torch her influencer career. Your Honor, I'm literally just posting something, she sighs, oblivious to the cliff beneath her. It'll take like 2 seconds. Can you just chill for a sec? The phrase, "can you just chill," hangs in the air like a brick, triggering shocked whispers and nervous laughter. She didn't just disobey, she told a judge to calm down so she could post online. The response is immediate and absolute. Judge Caprio rises from the bench, authority filling the room as he points not at her phone, but at her freedom. Bailiff, take Ms. Miller into custody immediately. She is in contempt of court. For the first time, Jess snaps her head up, eyes wide with real fear as her digital bubble shatters. Wait, what? She stammers, too late. Officer Mark Stanton moves instantly, closing the distance in seconds. Ms. Miller, you are under arrest for contempt of court, he states firmly, reaching for her wrist. Put your hands behind your back. The shift from scrolling to arrest happens so fast she can't process it. Panic floods her face as she tries to speak. Wait, I was just. Officer Stanton removes the phone from her grip, severing her connection to her followers, hands it to another officer, and guides her arms behind her back. As the cold steel of the handcuffs snaps shut around her wrists, she erupts in protest. This is crazy. I didn't do anything. I was on my phone for, like, 2 seconds. Judge Caprio remains on his feet, addressing the entire courtroom through her defiance, his voice firm and unwavering. Miss Miller, you were warned repeatedly. You ignored direct judicial orders. You told this court to wait, and you told me to chill. That is contempt of court. Desperate and cornered, Jess plays the only card she believes still has value. Her voice cracks as she blurts out, "But Your Honor, I have 342,000 followers. I'm an influencer. I was just interacting with my audience." Judge Caprio's response lands like a final hammer blow. Ms. Miller, I don't care if you have 340 million followers. This is a courtroom. When you walk through those doors, you follow courtroom rules. You respect judicial authority, and you do not tell a judge to chill while you finish an Instagram post. As the full weight of her situation finally hits, Jess collapses into tears, expensive mascara streaking down her face as Officer Stanton keeps a firm but professional grip on her arm, making it unmistakably clear that she is no longer in control of where she goes or what happens next. Yet even in this moment of total real-world humiliation, her thinking remains warped by social media logic as she wails, "This is going to destroy my brand. Everyone's going to see this," as if bad publicity is somehow worse than her actual misconduct. Judge Caprio watches this display of misplaced priorities without a hint of sympathy. Instead, he uses the moment to deliver a lesson that cuts deep, his tone carrying the full authority of the institution behind him. Good, he says, leaning forward as the room falls silent. Maybe it will teach you, and everyone watching, that there are places where likes and followers mean nothing. Places where you put the phone down and show respect. Courtrooms are one of those places. As Officer Stanton begins escorting her toward the secure holding area, the depth of her addiction becomes painfully obvious when she tries to bargain not for freedom, but for connectivity. Can I at least have my phone back? I need to tell my followers what's happening. Judge Caprio shuts it down immediately, stating the phone is now evidence. But Jess, spiraling, protests again. But Your Honor, I have sponsored posts scheduled. I have brand deals. People are expecting content. The statement is so detached from reality it borders on absurd, prompting the judge to deliver the ultimate reality check. Ms. Miller, right now you need to be concerned about the fact that you are under arrest, not about your content calendar. With Jess finally silenced and led away, Judge Caprio turns his attention to the packed gallery, addressing dozens of spectators who, despite the rules, have been discreetly filming. Let this be a lesson, he commands, his voice filling the chamber. Phones do not belong in your hands in a courtroom. Period. If I see another person using a phone during proceedings, they will be held in contempt as well. This court demands respect and attention. Social media can wait. As Jess disappears through the heavy side door, her sobs echoing faintly behind her, the impact is immediate. Every other defendant in the room hastily and visibly stuffs their phone into pockets and purses. The message has landed. The judge sits back down and resumes the docket as if nothing extraordinary occurred, but the energy in the room has shifted. They have just witnessed a decisive victory of real-world authority over digital entitlement. The irony of the following 48 hours, however, is brutally poetic. Jess's arrest becomes infinitely more viral than anything she ever posted, teaching her a harsh lesson about the volatility of internet fame. Within 30 minutes, unauthorized clips are spreading online. By the 2-hour mark, Jessica Miller contempt arrest is trending worldwide on Twitter, and within 6 hours, major news outlets are analyzing her implosion. By nightfall, the footage has surpassed 3 million views. But the engagement is career-ending. Her once affirming comments section transforms into a public flogging, with thousands mocking her audacity for telling a judge to chill, pointing out that 340,000 followers offer zero protection from handcuffs, and praising Judge Caprio as a legend for forcing an influencer to face reality. The real damage, though, doesn't appear in comments, it hits her bank account. By the end of that first disastrous day, her inbox is filled with termination notices as brands scramble to distance themselves. A major fitness apparel company states they cannot be associated with someone who shows such blatant disrespect for legal authority. A popular beauty subscription service declares her behavior incompatible with their values and cancels her contract immediately. A meal prep company drops her citing corporate responsibility, and a lucrative travel booking campaign is pulled the moment executives see her tell a judge to chill. While her digital life collapses, Jess spends 6 long hours sitting in a cold holding cell, a brutal contrast to the luxury she once curated online, until her family finally posts bail. Her release comes with humiliating conditions: a mandatory contempt hearing 2 weeks later, a stern warning that any repeat behavior will bring severe consequences, and most painfully, an order requiring her phone to remain with court administration until after her hearing. When she finally regains access to her device, she isn't met with praise but the crushing force of viral infamy. The arrest video now sits at over 5 million views. Her follower count has dropped by 4,000 in hours, and her comment section is a swamp of ridicule. Worse still, fellow influencers pile on, uploading reaction videos condemning her entitlement. In a desperate, tone-deaf attempt at damage control, she posts the classic tearful apology video, complete with a "hey guys" intro and vague excuses about stress and being overwhelmed. The internet responds mercilessly, flooding her with comments pointing out she's still deflecting blame and centering herself instead of taking responsibility. 2 weeks later, the woman who returns to Judge Caprio's courtroom is almost unrecognizable. The designer outfits and oversized sunglasses are gone, replaced by conservative attire and visible fear. Her phone is powered off, buried deep in her purse, and her eyes remain fixed respectfully on the bench. Judge Caprio acknowledges the shift but maintains full judicial seriousness as he recites the charges, ignoring direct orders, the raised finger, and the infamous chill remark, before asking for her plea. Standing beside her public defender, Jess answers clearly, "Guilty, Your Honor," her voice trembling as she apologizes not only for her actions but for her complete lack of respect for the dignity of the court. When Judge Caprio presses her further, asking whether she truly understands. Through the tone of her remorse, she offered an admission that finally demonstrated real growth. "Yes, Your Honor, I was disrespectful. I placed social media above judicial authority and treated this courtroom like just another backdrop for content, when in reality it is a place where the law must come first." Judge Caprio, a man who has listened to every excuse imaginable over his long career on the bench, carefully observes the young woman before him and gives a slow nod, recognizing that her guilty plea carries the weight of genuine self-reflection rather than a calculated attempt to avoid consequences. "That's a far more thoughtful response than I anticipated," he acknowledges, his voice softening slightly while still holding its commanding gravity as he presses further, asking her to explain precisely what this humiliating ordeal has taught her beyond simple legal consequences. Jess inhales deeply, steadying herself, her former casual defiance completely gone, and delivers a confession that strikes directly at the core of modern digital dependency. She tells the court that she allowed her entire identity to be overtaken by the glowing screen in her hand, admitting that her craving for online validation had become so intense that she physically could not disconnect, even within a sanctuary of law. "I've learned there are places and moments where phones don't belong, and where my followers and my content mean nothing," she says, her voice resonating through the silent courtroom as she finally understands the difference between virtual popularity and real-world presence. "Most importantly, I've learned that respect for authority and legal institutions isn't optional. It's essential to how society functions." Sensing that she has truly grasped the seriousness of her actions, Judge Caprio poses one final, critical hypothetical to test the authenticity of her transformation. "Ms. Miller, I'm going to ask you something, and I want a completely honest answer. If you could return to that morning 2 weeks ago, what would you do differently?" The response comes instantly, without even a fraction of hesitation, stripping away the last traces of ego. Jess states that she wouldn't merely put the phone in her pocket, she would leave it in her car, cutting the tether entirely before ever stepping onto the courthouse steps, acknowledging that a $75 parking ticket was never worth sacrificing her integrity, her reputation, or her freedom. Convinced that the lesson has been fully absorbed, Judge Caprio delivers his decision with dramatic flair, draining the air from the room. Ms. Miller, here is my ruling on your contempt charge. You are sentenced to 48 hours in county jail. The words hang like a guillotine blade, and for a terrifying moment, Jess's face drains of color in shock, though she accepts her fate without uttering a single protest. Then the judge pivots, offering a path toward redemption that is as symbolic as it is corrective. I'm going to suspend that sentence on 2 conditions, he continues, outlining a plan that transforms her greatest weakness into a force for public good. First, she must complete 80 hours of community service within the court system itself, teaching others the very courtroom etiquette she failed to respect. Second, and perhaps most fitting, she is ordered to create a public service announcement addressing phone addiction and courtroom respect, forcing the influencer to use her platform to dismantle the behavior that once fueled her fame. Do you agree to these conditions? He asks, to which she immediately responds, breathless, absolutely. He finalizes the penalties, confirming the original parking fine remains, along with a $500 contempt fine, totaling $575. But his most meaningful lesson comes last. Addressing the collapse of her career, he tells her, you said you lost followers and sponsorships. Those losses aren't punishment from this court. They are feedback from society, reminding you that behavior has consequences. He instructs her to rebuild not through polished posts, but through genuine accountability, a directive Jess receives with a quiet, sincere thank you, Your Honor, marking the end of the influencer's performance and the beginning of true personal growth. In the difficult months following her sentencing, Jessica Miller didn't simply check off the requirements of her punishment. She fully embraced the chance to rewrite her story, approaching her 80 hours of community service with a renewed sense of purpose that went far beyond obligation. She spent her days walking the same courthouse hallways where she had once been publicly humiliated, but now she stood there as a mentor instead of a warning, personally addressing hundreds of anxious defendants about the importance of putting devices away, respecting the judicial process, and recognizing that a courtroom is a sanctuary of law, not a stage for content creation. This wasn't busy work. It was accountability in action. She devoted the same effort to producing the court-ordered public service announcement. Instead of filming a stiff, forced apology, she created a piece of deeply vulnerable storytelling that stripped away the influencer image and exposed the raw reality of her arrest and the painful lessons she learned about entitlement. The video didn't just circulate, it erupted, surpassing 10 million views and earning praise from legal professionals and educators who hailed it as a powerful tool for teaching digital responsibility and courtroom respect. Yet the most profound change happened away from the camera, in the quiet moments she never posted, where Jess rebuilt her unhealthy relationship with social media. She stopped chasing the dopamine rush of constant uploads, significantly reduced her posting, and when she did share content, she replaced curated perfection with honest transparency about her mistakes, her growth, and the hidden dangers of phone addiction. Predictably, superficial followers fell away, her numbers dropped, and eventually stabilized at 280,000. But those who remained were more engaged, more genuine, and deeply supportive of her journey toward maturity. Even her business life transformed as she began attracting sponsorships not from fast fashion brands seeking a mannequin, but from companies that valued her redemption and her willingness to own her flaws. The journey reached its peak 6 months later when the heavy wooden doors of Judge Caprio's courtroom opened for her once again. This time, she didn't enter as a distracted, gum-chewing defendant facing jail, but as an honored guest speaker at a court-sponsored event on social media responsibility. Standing on the very floor tiles where she once stood in handcuffs, devastated over lost brand deals, she addressed a captivated audience of judges, staff, and young adults with a voice steady from hard-earned wisdom. 6 months ago, I stood right here in handcuffs, she began, holding the room not with spectacle, but with truth. I was arrested because I told Judge Caprio to chill while I finished posting on Instagram. That moment of arrested development literally became the moment that forced me to grow as a human being. She motioned to her phone resting face down on a nearby table, a symbol of a conquered addiction, and continued, this device became more important to me than real human connection, more important than respecting authority, more important than being present in my own life. It took being arrested in this courtroom to realize that some moments are too important for phones. Courtrooms are one of them. So are family dinners, serious conversations, and moments of real human connection. The admission moved Judge Caprio himself to speak, commending her for choosing growth over mere punishment, noting that true accountability lies in transformation. While the video of her speech never reached the explosive virality of her arrest footage, Jess found peace in that, realizing that viral attention is worthless if it comes from someone you don't respect. Today, she has fully shifted her career, working as a social media consultant helping creators and students understand professional boundaries, with a bio that proudly states, "Former influencer arrested for contempt of court. Now teaching others what I learned the hard way." Put your phone down. The real world matters more. It's a lesson she lives daily. Whenever she enters a professional environment now, whether a meeting, a lecture hall, or a doctor's office, her phone stays powered off and buried in her bag, because she learned through handcuffs, viral humiliation, lost sponsorships, and 60,000 followers that presence is worth more than any amount of digital engagement, and that authority demands respect regardless of your content.